Games, Brrraains A Head-Banging Life, and we're doing a track by track for Twilight of the Gods by Bathory. Of course, Bathory started life as a black metal band, but would eventually transform into what is often considered the start of Viking metal. And the sixth studio album by the extreme metal band Bathory continues exploration of the newly created Viking metal style and is titled after an opera by Wagner. Of significance in this album is Cawthon's total control of the album, playing all electric and acoustic guitar, keyboards, bass, and drum programming. For me, at this point in Bathory, it's a solo, one-man band. Yeah. The background vocals are a particular feature of this album, with Cawthon multi-tracking himself as he did on a Hammerheart album, though this time in a more sophisticated way. So the idea was, he sounds like an entire chorus himself. And fuck me, does it work? It was released on June 29th, 1991 by Black Mark. So we're going to say, before we even get into this, because I don't, Brendan needs to be careful, this is one of my all-time favourite albums. This was such a revelation for me when I first heard this. When I was trying to look into black metal and discover black metal and all that, Bathory, of course, they were on the list and all that, but I found I didn't love a lot of the black metal side of Bathory. Yeah. Going through the back catalogue, and then I hit this point. I hit Hammerheart before this, and then this album. And I was like, well, this isn't black metal, but it's fucking great. This album holds a shit ton of memories for me. Yeah. We begin with the title track, Twilight of the Gods. Unfortunately, get used to this, I have written essays.
Okay.
Yes, I really fucking have here. It's hard to summarise such an epic in just a handful of words. This is a glorious track that begins with so much subtlety, feeling more like you're listening to a neighbour playing through a wall, and then he suddenly invited you over to hear the full thing. Grandiose and detailed, it's such a slow burn of a track, and I love that. The build is generally thrilling, and when it does kick in, it's truly immense. I adore Cawthon's vocals, and the multi-tracking of the vocals for me is incredible. It makes me feel 10 feet tall.
I did sum up in a few words, so it's a shit, mate.
That's
it. This is my first listen to the album at all, and I didn't recognise anything on it either. Like, I may have heard it before. I don't think Bathory songs are the ones you accidentally come across quite a lot. To be honest,
yeah, shuffle.
I was in the pub and Bathory came on. I really liked it, which is the good stuff. I love the atmospherics, which I've always liked anyway. The kind of fuzzy guitar, howling winds in the background. Sort of sets the scene nicely. I also enjoy the slow build, with a bit of kind of little layers, just slightly. It is drawn out, it drags it out, and it's done purposely to kind of, I guess, embed you fully into the sound that they're trying to create, and it works, and I really like it. I think the backing vocals, the multi-tracking works really, really well. Very, very good. It doesn't sound like him. It sounds like he's got a small choir in the background. I think if it just sounded like 3 versions of him all singing at the same time, I would have been like, what the fuck is this? I like it when it switches up to squealing guitars more. I think that altogether I just found the whole thing very grand, very epic, a real adventure in song. I do think it sounds its age, to be honest with you. As a first listen for a person who hasn't listened to it before, if somebody said to me, give me an idea of what era that's coming from, I would have probably gone 80s, 90s.
Fair dues.
But that's not the end of the world. Don't get me wrong. It's all right too because of the style of music.
Yep.
If it's someone's trying to do new metal and it sounds its age, that's a terrible thing. But if you're doing this kind of folk-inspired black metal, Viking metal, whatever it's meant to be, the age kind of thing almost acts as a benefit a little bit. It sounds a bit more authentic,
Yeah, you're trying to talk about an era that's bygone.
Yeah. So I very much enjoyed it. It excited me for the rest of the album, whereas beforehand I was like, oh, please don't be shit. These songs are quite long.
Yeah. All right, you got 1 point correct. Through Blood by Thunder. For me, the quality continues here, and we really see the class act of the multi-track of the vocals, as you get a much more richer choir sound here. It's very rhythmic, even, dare I say, a bit catchy at times. But the percussion in particular in this really, really drives home that rich quality.
Yeah. I liked this one too. I didn't like it quite as much as Twilight of the Gods.
Cool.
But I liked it still. I thought some nice little melodies, spoken words, pretty good. I like the transition. It's got some good head-banging music in it. I did find the vocals when he was singing on his own at points in this a little bit more strained. Like, not to the point of it being a problem really, but just sounded like he was straining a bit.
Okay.
The fact that that he then adds some backing vocals in on top of it at points kind of helped it a lot and almost kind of
Covers it up,
a
yeah.
little bit, so yeah, good song, really good. Not quite up there with the opener, but I still enjoyed it.
Blood and Iron. Now, on a personal level, this is one of the more overplayed tracks for me. This was one I hammered, basically, when I first kind of came across these albums. However, I still love it as much as I did when I first heard it. I love the subtle build, the soft guitar plucks that give way to an epic score filtered through ancient godly times. It's got a thickness that just resonates so nicely in my ears.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one. I like this one a lot. This is definitely not overplayed for me. This is the first time I played it. So, think back to the first time you heard it, and that's probably where I was with it. I was like, wow, this sounds fucking great.
Yeah.
Again, it sounds its age, but in the best way possible. It just sounded so fucking authentic off the back of the fact that it sounded like it was listening to something from Viking days to a degrey. I found the whole song quite doomy actually all the way through. It's got like a kind of slow down doom groove to it, but but I didn't hurt it at all. Vocals are great, loads of guitar melody again that I really liked. The only thing I had a slight criticism on it, and I know it was there for a reason, but I didn't always enjoy listening to it, is that it is so fucking cymbal heavy.
It is
very much like at points in this song, it's just continuous crashing of cymbals. And it's kind of like, hit a different drum, man. Please hit a different drum.
Where's those buckets?
Yeah, but I do love the song. I thought it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
So far, so good, pretty much. We hit Under the Ruins. I wrote, he loves a subtle start, and this is one of his nicest sounding ones. The guitar melody is twinkly, but of course, it doesn't take long for it to evolve. The percussion is very meaty here, and the riffs are a bit more traditional heavy metal. Like I found, what you would call traditional classic. That's what I got here. It's a shorter, but another super strong effort for me. I really love this one.
Yeah, I like the intro melodies a lot. I really do. I like the way that the guitars kind of crunch in, and then they disappear again, slowly fade out, and then the melody carries on. Yeah, I thought that was really clever.
Cool.
I like it when it does kick in. It's quite heavy. It's quite hard. Again, the vocals are great. I actually thought vocally, including the backing vocals, all of it, this is the best I'd heard on the album so far. And this is probably was also my favourite song on the album so far. This is the one that really, I was enjoying everything so far, and then I was like, oh, this is the shit,
Well, hey, wow, that's great. I'm pleased to hear. To Enter Your Mountain. This track gives off a darker vibe, a connection for me to Bathory's earlier black metal, while not being a black metal track at all. Let's not get that confused. It's just a thin line connecting the two. One of the more challenging efforts, though, I must say, thanks to what is often uneven vocals and guitar riffs. It's a little choppier here, but it still feels humongous, and that's not a bad thing for this album.
Yeah, I started off just saying, look, it's really hard to find anything to dislike in this album so far, and there's nothing on this one either. I love it. Very doomy again, I felt. I don't even, it's probably not doomy. It's just what I now attribute to doom, which is slow.
Oh, yeah. If you're playing it slow.
Oh, fucking doom.
What's the S song? Don't stop, never get... Yeah, doom.
The riffs are, there's great riffs in it. Vocal harmonies and of course brilliant. Again, the backing vocals add so much to it. It makes all the fucking difference, to be honest with you. I think if it was just him singing on his own all the way through this album, it would have been good still, but I don't think it would have been great. I think his multi-tracking of the backing vocals is what's made it huge. Made it sound like an epic.
He totally knew what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah,
basically.
Absolutely. Very fucking clever. Loads of great stuff in it, man. I loved it a lot. Love to say drum beat. I just wrote that it's just a really good fucking metal song.
My least favourite track comes next, and that's not saying that's like least. Here's a lot of 9 out of 10 tracks. Here's an 8 out of 10 track for you. Born of Blood, the straightforward thumping echo that runs through the track like a vein. I love. Vocally, it's got a bit more of a downbeat drawl about it. And while I don't think it ever really gets into a higher gear, it's kind of just, for me, what's really important is that it freshens up the mind at this stage, particularly for what is about to follow.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't my favourite. I mean, it's probably my least favourite on the album altogether. Born of Blood. That's not to say, again, like you said, it's not bad at all. You know, I did write, it's another good song. I did feel with this one that I felt a little bit like I'd heard it before. Like some of the similar riffs, the similar pace, the similar tone was starting to blend a little bit when I got to this one. I still liked it. I really liked the solo. I really liked the way they introduced the clean melody at the end of the song. But, you know, it's good rather than great. It's not the most exciting on the album.
We pretty much agree on that, I think. It is my least favourite of it. Then we reach the penultimate track, really the final track. And I have to start with a little bit of a story about this specific track, because this is something, particularly at this point, I don't think you could have expected. I knew it existed, but I imagine it was shocking when you heard what follows this. But what's quite important about this is, so when I was listening, and I remember this vividly, I was on a tube train listening to Twilight of the Gods on my way into work back in the day, in like probably mid-2000s, and so on, and this has hit. And I'd become so fascinated with Bathory throughout this album that I was reading. I was doing what you do, like, right, let me learn more about this man. What's he doing? What happened? Why don't we talk about him now? Obviously, I discovered he died. And he died very young, and he died not because he took a drug overdose or anything like that. He died because of health issues, which is shit. This is the track that was playing when I read that. So when I hear this now, I always associate it with the feeling I was like, oh shit, Quorthon died, and died young. And like, that's it. That's all you're ever going to get of Bathory. Like that is it. And so I can't help associate the two. But it's Hammerheart. Now, this is based on the melody from Gustav Holst's The Planet. Specifically, it's Quorthon's own rearrangement of the middle section of the fourth movement of The Planet. It's called Jupiter. I fucking adore this. For me, this might be... this is a track that will put me in tears almost. It's an incredible vocal performance, and it's so fucking grand. The almost whispered section that's part of the second verse is outstanding, and he sounds like he's about to fucking cry. Plus the quiet of his own voice, it's just wow. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was quite. It kind of, for the first listen on the way through this album, it kind of came out of the blue a bit.
Throws you, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know exactly what it came from, but that piece of music must be used in many other things because it was extremely recognisable.
Yep.
You know, whether it's used in film scores a lot or something like that, you know.
Isn't it?
I was just like, I really know this. You know, is this a cover? I was like, what is this from? I know this from. But, you know, I really enjoyed it. It was like you said, it was like, you know, what the fuck? What's happened? You know, have I pressed to skip to a different album or something like that by accident? But, you know, it's very enjoyable to listen to. Very enjoyable. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't have quite the emotional attachment to it that you do. You know, I listened to it probably a couple of days ago for the first time ever. I was already well aware he was dead. So, you know, I kind of went into it knowing it. But, you know, I enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah, that's it.
The Winds of Mayhem. It's outro. It literally is just that as an outro. I'm not even really going to anything to judge in it. It's a perfectly fine wind blowing outro.
Like 20 seconds of wind closes the album's concept.
Yeah.
Really.
Which, if you think about the wind blowing at the start of Twilight of the Gods, perfect.
Yeah, it starts at the beginning. It comes up a few times actually throughout it, to be honest. It even comes up in Hammerheart a little bit. And then it ends. So, the final breath of wind.
Bathory's Twilight of the Gods. What's your top three?
My top three are... I know what one of yours is.
Yeah.
Twilight of the Gods, the song itself, Under the Runes, and To Enter Your Mountain.
Well, Twilight of the Gods, Blood and Iron, and Hammerheart, of course. There you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?